organizations and outlets. And that way you guys can look me up and see I am who I am, and I am bringing the truth as I see it. Right? I talk about that stuff as I see it. Okay. So now, with that being said, let's jump into the first kind of little thing for podcasting. Here we have a podcast checklist. And this, do not look at this and feel overwhelmed if you're just thinking about starting a podcast, because it actually helps you out. What I do, and I still use a checklist to this day. Mine isn't as uh, filled out as this because I've kind of gotten the technique down and I've been doing this for a while, but I still to this day use a checklist, right? But again, this just shows you just some of the ways and some of the things that you're going to need to use in order to get your podcast kind of started. And checklists are great. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, follow them. It takes off the stress of you thinking, do I have this? Do I need this? Did I forget this? Right? You go down your checklist each and every time when you start your episodes or when you start to do your podcast. And after a while, you will get it accustomed and you'll be able to just look at it and be like, yep, got that, got that. Some of the things won't change. For an example, when you start to look at, let's just say, the podcast um, cover art, right? You've got that. And now you just say, that doesn't change. I haven't changed my podcast cover art. So I know I got it and I don't need to check that off my checklist every single time, right? So that's just an example of what we're referring to. So let's go into the next portion, right? Once you got your podcast checklist and you say, hey, I'm new, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. Let me just look at my checklist. Check, 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 check. Good. I've got it. All right. So with this is an example of another form of a checklist that helps you out within your podcast when you're first starting. Here's an episode success tracker, right? I want to make sure my episode is successful. How do I do that? Well, we start off with the date that I'm recording my episode. And this still goes to work whether you're doing solo or even interviewing a guest. So you have your goal. The goal of my episode is to, get, 35 minutes of great information from someone who's talking about healthy eating, for an example, right? This episode's goal is to um, talk about how to prepare a drywall. And maybe if your podcast is about construction or whatever, you have your priorities, you have your reminders. You're going to look at this as you're doing your podcast. Hey, I want to, remind myself to ask my guests about a specific tool type, purchasing costs, ways to maybe, um, get a hold of different uh, companies like Lowe's. If you're in construction, right? They may have some letterheads to be able to do that. Distractions, how to avoid distractions. For an example, one of my distractions are my dogs in my checklist, and I can show you I literally have make sure to put dogs up, right? So this is ways to help you ease into your podcast. Now the suggestions with interviews, do's and don'ts. Hey, do's, make sure you know how your guest is doing in the interview, i.e. phone number, computer, if they're calling in to be a part of your podcast, if they're going to be coming in through Zoom or some other platforms that allow that. Hey, don't forget to ask if they're coming in via desktop or mobile. So that way you know how to adjust your sound system. And all that, again, can be taught within our course. Ask your guests if they're hardwires, do a test call. Okay, just a simple thing. My main point is showing you all this is to show you that you don't have to stress. It's all going to be there. Once you get this done your first time, you kind of know what to do. With that being said, as well, I will show you these what you're seeing here. This is inside. It's one of our program guides, Leap into Podcasting through Ecamm. Shout out to Ecamm. That's who I am using and will always use and suggest to everyone through our podcasting system. Um, they do have the book, and you have this PDF source here in which There are certain portions of this that it's giving out inside of our course again, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you will have tremendous amount of these to do, or you can even make copies of yourself and so forth. So let's go into the next page. Here's my roadmap. Here's how I do this for the ease of use for people to understand that, again, everything is kind of laid out for you. So you don't have to worry about, I don't know what to do this time. I forgot. It's I don't know. You don't have to stress. It's all put there for you. Okay. So in the roadmap, one of the first things we're going to do is start working out on planning, right? Uh, how do we prepare for a successful launch? These are things that you would be taught. Branding and graphics, right? Create cover art and brand identity. Doesn't matter if you have any skills in that. They have sources that we teach on how to use that. A paid source is Fiverr. Some people have heard about that. You can go Fiverr. They have independent artists there who can, do a cover art for you. If you have graphic skills, you can do one yourself. And even through the tremendous thing of Canva. If you have not heard of Canva, I'm learning it. I'm loving it. It's a great free source, and they also still have a paid program as well. Website media hosting. We teach you how to build a podcast website and select a media host to store your files. Why is that important? Because if you try to upload your files onto your own website, it's going to slow it down. And if you know anything about SEO and everything like that, it goes up your speed, how fast your website loads and everything. If your website's slow, then your SEO score downhill. We then show you the roadmap of post production. In order to launch a podcast, you got to record it, edit it, and publish it. And again, I love Ecamm for this thing because I have shown some people how I edit my podcast in like under 5 to 10 minutes at the most, the maximum 10 minutes. Ecamm allows me to put everything all in one. So then we also have, let's see here, now marketing, how to market, social media, getting the word out about your podcast, other things. And I will tell you, and we won't go deep into this, social media is not the number one way to market your podcast. It helps, but it is not a major influence on that. Of course, most people may think that, but I'm a matter of fact to let you know, I'm still in a podcast coaching program because I was doing a podcast for about, my wife and I for 3 years. We wanted to take it to another level. So we needed to learn. Coaching was the best way. So we got into a coaching program and it has helped us out tremendously. Learning things we never knew. For example, with the marketing, there's certain times to place your um, podcasts onto the social media, certain days to put them on there, to learn ways to find out with your group and community when they're more active, right? And then we also get into that monetization portion. Optional. Some people do this just as a stress relief, as a hobby. They do it, just to be able to talk and socialize with their friends. Some people do a sports podcast, right? They have no intention of actually monetizing their podcast, but it is an option to let you know there is money in that. We have 4 podcasts, as I said, and we're working on another one dealing with mental health for Black veterans and Black men, right? That's going to be my one. Within that, we have 2 of those podcasts that are monetized and we're making money on, and a third one that's very close. So it's another option for you guys to see there. And then there is some ways to communicate and reach out to me and talk to me as well. Feel free to take a screenshot as well on any of these pages. And if you have any questions, we can also refer back to that during that time. So let's go. And I see some questions coming in. I appreciate that. And again, we'll get to them at the end.